Let's talk about the agro space now, where pulses have seen a decline, and especially chana has declined for a third straight day on fears of government action in the physical markets. They may curb holding limits to increase supplies, and that's weighing onto that space there. The decline also has come in for oilseed and soy oil futures, which have seen a decline because of decline in global prices and profit taking in the Indian markets after the prices made record highs in the previous week. In spices, you had chili, pepper and jeera see losses today, while the pepper closed the day with slight gains after the decline that we have seen in previous 3 weeks onto that commodity. But the Indian government has raised the cotton production estimates to 34.7 million bales for the current year to September versus 34.5 million bales earlier. They also have increased the 2011-12 export estimates to 11.5 million bales versus 8.4 earlier. Let's go across then to Mr. Dhiren Sheth, and he joins us on a Mumbai phoner to get an idea of that one. Mr. Sheth, hi, welcome to the show. The Cotton Association of India, what view have you taken of these numbers?
Well, we believe that the CAB should have revised the production figures by much more than what they have done. The consumption figures also have been revised upwards, but they are expected to be lower in our opinion than what they have estimated. Similarly, import figures which they have estimated is expected to be higher. The main issue is that the opening stock which has been revised for the current season raises queries about the estimates of the last season. And we need to go into more details about this together.
Mr. Sheth, the kind of export estimate that has come in, looking at the fact that exports have been restricted, they are not open, how would you take a view of that number?
No, that figure of exports has been put at 1 crore 15 lakh bales, which was more or less the figure that has been registered and revalidated.
Okay.
So that doesn't come as a surprise.
So if we are looking at a higher supply or higher production this time around as well, do you think that would dent the prices further?
No, it again depends upon what the government decides. If they open up, prices should go up. If they don't, prices will fall.
So what's your sense? What is the industry working out with in sense of prices for this quarter now?
Like I said, it all depends upon government policy. If the government permits further exports, there is room for some move upwards as our prices are lower than in the levels. But if exports continue to be controlled or banned, then prices will.
Mr. Sheth, one final question. Until what time do you think government could actually come out with some sense on where the exports or the further trade in sense of cotton is headed?
Well, I think the Prime Minister has called a meeting on Monday to evaluate agri exports and policies of the government. We hope some positive news comes out after.
All right, Mr. Sheth, we'll let you go at that. Thank you so much for taking time out. So that's the view coming in from the Cotton Association of India. It all depends on what government does, and they are all watching out for the Monday meeting when some agri-export issues or policies would be taken up. Let's talk about sugar then, and as per the latest ISMA update, 246.31 lakh tons of sugar has been produced till 15th April 2012 as compared to 217.32 lakh tons a year ago, indicating an increase of 29 lakh tons, which is 13% more on year-on-year basis. Just taking you across the states as well, Maharashtra production is up 9%, UP production up by 18%, and Andhra Pradesh has produced 11% more in this season, and that's the reason you are looking at those higher figures. ISMA maintains that the sugar production will be 260 lakh tons in the current season 2011-12. But this commodity also is pretty much in the preview of ministers, and the ministers panel will meet on April 25th to discuss the mechanism for 1 million tons permitted under the last round of OGL sales. And apart from that, the domestic sugar industry is divided on the issue of adopting a new mechanism or continuing with the old method of dividing export quotas among all mills based on their average output over 3 years. So those are some 3 or 4 issues which the industry really is tackling at this point in time. To talk more on the same, let's get in Abhinash Verma. He's DG ISMA, and he joins us on a Delhi phone line. Abhinash, hi, welcome to the show. Let's start with the ISMA production output estimates first of all. The higher crop, does that mean that the prices could further go down from here?
No, this 260 lakh tons of production we have been estimating right from the beginning of the season. So there are no surprises really. The market is already expecting 260 lakh tons, and that's it. I don't think the prices will get affected because of that.
Avinash, how are you looking at market expectation of 1 lakh ton more of exports, which the industry is hoping would come in by next week?
It's not really surprising because the government has already approved this on the 26th of May EGOM meeting. They have already approved 10 lakh tons of exports. In fact, we are very eagerly and hoping that the government will announce another 10 lakh tons of more exports in this meeting of 25th. That means we are expecting 10 lakhs of 26th May decision plus another 10 lakhs, 20 lakh tons of export permissions now.
If you look at the international prices, those have been under pressure in 2012. The Indian prices more or less have been holding. But do you see this trend going forward as well? Do you think this quarter the prices would hold on a positive side?
The international prices will get affected because the Brazilian sugar production is coming into the market in another month's time. So once the Brazilian exports hit the international market, the international prices will get affected. So we have an opportunity to really grab the international viable export market for the next 1.5 months or so. That's why we've been requesting the government to announce more and more exports very quickly. As concerns the domestic prices, we still continue to be at much below our cost of production, and we continue to beat and we continue to sell our sugar at much below the cost of production. So we hope and pray that the domestic prices also stabilize and firm up slightly.
Avinash, one final word on the quota system as well. While the levy quota and the quota announcement from the government is happening on a quarterly basis from monthly basis, but this latest thing about industry being divided on whether the quotas between mills should also be decided or not, what's your view on that?
I think you're talking about the export quota?
Yes.
The export quota, we have a divided house in the association. Almost half the sugar mills in the country want a freer kind of export policy in which they don't want a quota system. Whereas the sugar mills which are away from the ports do want a continuation of the present system of quota. And we believe that the quota system is fair to all the sugar mills. But having said that, if we want a freedom from the government controls, a more free export policy would certainly be the long-term policy that we would look at.
So while I'm sure this must have been represented or presented to government in some sense, are you getting a hearing on that soon?
We can't really say because the government also seems to be slightly confused on what policy to really follow. Because on one side, they also agree with the industry that we have to really push out exports as fast as possible. But on the other side, they are also looking at being as far as possible equitable to all the sugar mills in the country. So we'll have to wait for the 25th to really come out with or to understand what the government really announces.
All right, Avinash, we'll let you go at that. Thank you so much for joining us. That's the view coming in from ISMA then. The sugar prices, of course, have been slightly on the higher side. The production is better and exports is what they are watching out for. And as ISMA and Cotton Association of India said, both of them really are awaiting the EGOM meeting on 25th April to get some further clarity on that one. But Vijay, we talked about cotton and we talked about sugar. How about the edible oil space? There has been decline. Those have continued today as well.
That's right, Manisha. Yesterday I recommended a short in crude palm oil which worked out beautifully well. And like the copper trade earlier, I would basically bet on the fact that I would be second time lucky again. So I would take out a measured and very limited exposure fresh shorts on crude palm oil in the April futures on the MCX. I would short at 614 and I would hold that short with a stop loss at 617. I would expect to book profits close to 609 levels because the closer it gets to 600 levels, the commodity might just be ripe for a technical bounce back. So the traded exposure, the fresh exposure needs to be on smaller volumes as compared to the yesterday's recommendation.
All right, further shots coming in from CPO for Vijay. Keep an eye on those values there.